Hey, what's up guys, it's Graphic Phoenix back with another video today, and today we're doing the Dart Frog Q&A. Today is May 26th, and we gotta get this done. So these are mostly going to be related to dart frogs and vivariums. That's kind of all that's in here. Now, if you haven't seen my last video, then you might see, I don't know if it's on shot or not, but there's a new vivarium there. I would go check out yesterday's video, May 25th, because there's some pretty cool things coming in. So go give that a check out, and stay tuned for a nice video. I don't think it's going to be as long as the first Q&A that I did, because that was I think 75 minutes total, something like that. Anyways, let's get started. I have my laptop down there again, so as you see me looking down, I'm sorry. Hopefully with this one, I will be able to put in everybody's names and stuff, like their pictures. I know it's kind of unfair to those that were in the reptile Q&A, but there was just so many questions for that one. I just couldn't. There's just too many. This one, there's only about 20 or 25, something like that. Anyways, enough blabbling. Let's get started. So our first question today is from Barney Richardson. It says, what's the cheapest and easiest type of dart frog to keep? Now, the cheapest and easiest, those are both very relative terms. Now, the cheapest in Canada and probably in the States is, I'm guessing, going to be Dendrobates auratus, Dendrobates leucomelos, and Dendrobates tinctorius. The leucomelos will probably have just standard ones, will be fairly cheap, and then for the auratus, it'll probably be the super blues, the normal, just auratus, and then for the tinctorius, I don't really know. I feel like that'll be kind of the more expensive of the three. But those are pretty much the best and easiest and therefore cheapest dart frogs to go to. Honestly, if you're looking for something like me, when I started with the Ranitomea, I only started with the Ranitomea because I had experience with the Ranitomeas before that, and that was important to me because they are a little harder to keep, they're a little more touchy, they're a little more sensitive, so you want to be as general as possible when you're getting into dart frogs. And honestly, the Dendrobates, again, auratus, leucomelos, and the tinctorius. There are various different morphs and color mutations and localities that you can get, so go have a look at those. That's probably what I'd suggest. GTB_greedy says, how hard is it to look after dart frogs compared to other animals? How many animals do you own and how much do they cost to look after? Are you Chris Griffin? No, as far as I know, I'm not Chris Griffin. Sure, I do have shaggy blonde hair and I'm a little bit overweight, but I am Chris Griffin in the sense that I'm hilarious, right? Come on, give me that. How many animals do you own and how much do they cost? Currently, I'm at 1, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So 20 total if you're counting each individual frog. Actually, if you're doing that, then I have a hell of a lot more because I have 15 babies and then 1 adult in the grow-up tank up there, but yeah, that's where I'm sitting at. So if you're counting literally everything, including all the froglets and things, I guess probably somewhere around 35, 36. If not, then about 20. How much do they cost to look after? I answered this in one of the last Q&As. I honestly don't know how much electricity is, and I mean, it's not broken into rooms, so our electricity bill, my brother also has a computer, we do run a lot of electronics, so I have no idea how much the electricity bill is. As for food and maintenance and stuff, it's all relative. I about $25 a week for crickets, and then another 7 to 10 for salads, and then of course there's the substrate and light bulbs that need to be changed every 6 to 8 months and things like that. So it's not cheap. And how hard are dart frogs to look after compared to others? I mean, it really depends what you're comparing it to. If it's compared to a dog, obviously they're more needy than a dog. I don't know how to answer that question. Compared to other humidity loving animals, they're very easy. Just honestly. John Hersey, just started watching your videos. You're doing a great job. Question, do you sell any of your dart frogs? Also, do you ship? If you're looking to buy any of my dart frogs, or hopefully I'll have some baby Ackies here in a little while. That's not saying that Stella is gravid, but I did see some breeding activity today, so hopefully that leads to something. I would be able to ship all across Canada. I would not be able to do the States because I don't want to do the paperwork. Maybe if we use Ship Your Reptiles or whatever, maybe they would do the paperwork, but even still, it's really not worth it because you'd be paying a hell of a lot just to get it from me when there's probably breeders of the exact same animal in the States already, and you don't have to pay shipping across the border, which is phenomenally expensive. Long answer short, yes, I will be selling dart frogs. Yes, I will be shipping only in Canada. Derp_ asks, for the custom vivariums you build, how often do you have to change the substrate and clean them if you have to? And that is exactly it. You don't have to. Only would you have to if you don't have like springtails and isopods and other like cleanup crew, whether you have snails or whatever's in there, then you'd have to clean it. But if it's seeded with bioactivity, with those microorganisms, then you're good. You don't need to clean it hardly ever. The only time you would need to is if your drainage layer isn't thick enough and it gets soggy and stagnant and gross. That'd be the only time. K. Jang and Animals. I don't know how to say that, I'm sorry, but what is your favorite species of dart frog you own? Would you ever get a bearded dragon? What is your favorite setup? And last but not least, snakes. Would you ever buy one? Snakes I answered in the reptile video. Go check that out. Bearded dragons, I'll answer it really quick because it's a simple answer. No, I don't really want any. Anytime. Really ever. What's my favorite setup? Like from everyone, I would probably have to say, I don't know, I really like the shrimp tank. I really like Sheldon's pen because it's just so big and you can do so much with that space. And I also just really like pretty much all the dart frog setups. I like a lot. Like I like most of my setups that I do. What is my favorite species of dart frog? I don't know. I think I have to say probably the Chizuda imitators, just because they're so loud and their call's so nice. I haven't had these guys mature on me yet, but when they mature and they start calling, it's going to be amazing. And that's the Epidobates tricolor, Epidobates anthonii Santa Isabellas, and those are the Ranitomea imitators, Chizudas. The new ones that I got, the Dendrobates auratus Panama, are pretty amazing as well, but I haven't really had them more than a day, so I really want to see how they kind of mature and grow into their setup. The next one comes from Run Cheetah. Says, I'm looking to get into dart frogs. What species can live in a small vivarium, particularly an 8x8x12 Exoterra? Honestly, I don't recommend any of them living in something that small. Pretty much the minimum tank I would put them in is either a 10-gallon vertical or a 12x12x18 Exoterra. Those are the two that allow for climbing for the Ranitomeas, and they are arboreal species, so you want to allow them that climbing room. Honestly, it's hard to say. Like, if I was you, I would not put them in an 8x8x12 because in my opinion that's just way too small. Especially because most of the time you're going to be adding live plants and cork, and bark and a drainage layer and everything like that. So if that's your only option, I would consider something other than dart frogs. I've been attacked by a naked cat. Help! Help! Send help! Turb, I'm filming a video. Get lost. I don't want you. Maybe they don't want you. Maybe they're scared of cats. Alright, well, we have a visitor for another couple minutes, so. Connor Finn says, what is the best beginner poison dart frog to get? I already kind of answered that, and that would be the Dendrobates, pretty much anything, whether it be the Auratus, Leucomelas, or the Tinctorius. Turbo, do you want to just slow down here? We're taking this way too fast. Look at the camera. You're being filmed. Look. Yeah, what's that? It's like, dude, what is this? The next suite of questions comes from Lynn's Defins. Favorite dart frog, favorite plant for a vivarium. Oh gosh, please. Okay. Favorite dart frog, favorite plant for a vivarium, funniest reptile moment. Hope these are okay. Favorite dart frog, I like in general or that I own. In general, I really like the blue-footed Leucomelas. The Uphagas, like, honestly, most dart frogs to me are amazing. My favorite that I own, if it's just like color and stuff, probably right now the Chizudas, but I can really feel those Dendrobates coming in to steal the show. As for a favorite plant for terrarium or viv, I think you guys might have some sort of clue, but to be honest, for me, it's probably the Bromeliads. They are something that I just love to have, and or moss. Like, just a standard moss is really nice in a vivarium. Gosh, I think I had it on video, and that was probably when Rango and Kula, did it on my hand. I don't know how many people have seen that. I feel like probably most of you have, but I would go check it out if you haven't. It's just on my channel. If you just search, like, how to breed chameleons or whatever, then you might find it. Cajun Gan animals? I don't know. It's so, you could say so many different ways. But he asks, also, what is your favorite terrarium? Plus, out of all your reptiles, which is the hardest to care for? Favorite terrarium, I think I answered it in another question. As for the, which one of the hardest to care for? Probably the chameleons, I guess. Like, honestly, they're all really easy. The chameleons are probably the hardest of them, just because they require so much humidity and they need good airflow, whereas the dart frogs, I mean, obviously they need airflow and high humidity, but they don't need as much as a chameleon. It can be stagnant in there. Even you just opening the cage once or twice a day is enough to keep the airflow going in there. So, probably the chameleons. Steph Style asks, hi Mike, are you planning to get any tree frogs? How do you keep all that humidity in the dart frog tanks? If I get picked, call me by Style. Well, sorry. Or Steel. Am I planning to keep any tree frogs? Not likely. The ones that I've seen that I would want to keep would really only be like the Milk's tree frog. And with what I got going on right now, they're not really on the top of my list. Like, I'd rather get other reptiles before I got the Milkies. As for the humidity on the dart frog tanks, here I have some glass tops with a custom built like screen window, and that's just to allow some airflow in the tank. I know that there are some people that use just completely glass tops, and that's totally fine. The newest members of the den, they have just a saran wrap top to keep in humidity, because I don't have a piece of glass cut that I could make a top for them. So that's how I keep humidity in with those guys. H&M Reptiles asks, how many frogs do you have? I kind of answered the question earlier, but I have like 15 or so froglets in the froglet tank. I have 3 Dendrobates auratus, 3 Chisuda imitators, 2 reticulatas, and 4 Epidebates anthonii. Oscar Zapata, my homie, what's up? I hope you're doing well. I appreciate all the support that you give. He asks, how often do you clean the dart frogs out? How do you stay positive in a life? You always seem so happy and full of life in your videos. Thank you, Mike. I'll answer the dart frogs first. I answered it earlier. You don't really have to clean them if they're bioactive. If they're not bioactive, then you want to clean them once every 1 or 2 months. It depends on how many you have and so many different factors. Just when it gets dirty is when you clean it. As for the how do I stay so positive, I mean, we all have downsides, and I'm not going to, especially in these style of videos, I'm not going to make a video when I'm sad, unless it's really important. Like, I have made some, like when Rango died and stuff like that. You don't typically make videos when you're upset, sad, mad, whatever it happens to be at the time. As a society, we portray on social media that we're always happy and everything's so good. We only put our best foot forward. Well, that's semi-true with me. I am really actually just a laid-back guy and don't make much of most things. Like, I'm pretty laid back. I don't really care that much about a lot of things. And when I do, I tend to be able to keep it inside and bottle it up and not really express it, if that makes sense. Like, I don't have a lot of time, or I don't take the time to like self-reflect on myself, so I don't have those pivotal moments of like, oh my gosh, I'm going crazy, like, what am I doing with my life? I can't do this, I can't do that, I can do this, blah blah blah. Like, I just don't really have those moments. So I hope that answers your question. Jor Strand, I hope that's right, asks, I'm building a vivarium with part water and was wondering what kind of animal you would recommend for it. It's 60 centimeters long, 40 centimeters deep, and 40 centimeters high. Not very interested in amphibians, rather some sort of small lizard. It does not have to be semi-aquatic. Would a brown anole thrive in that environment? Yeah, I mean, you could keep an anole in there. I'm not sure why I put that into the dart frog section, but it doesn't have to be an anole. Like, there's so many cool things that would love that. Like a crocodile skink, a red-eyed croc skink would love it. You could do like long-tailed grass lizards. You could do obviously anoles. You could do different day geckos would be fine in there. There's so many things you could do. You could do like a, well, it wouldn't last very long, but like a water dragon or a dwarf mountain dragon. Colode species would like that as well. So just look around. Those are some suggestions for you. You can go check those out and see what fits you best. Jack Small asks if I'm going to be getting any Tinks, Lukes, or any non-thumbnail dart frogs. Then he says, by the way, love your vids, man. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. And, I mean, I kind of just answered your question with yesterday's video. Yeah, go check that out. Sneakman Geckos or Seth, my buddy, asks, what made you get into... I'm going to read it verbatim just to piss you off, Seth. What made you get the first Seth of dart frogs out of the blue? And you can call me by my actual name if you answer. Awesome vid, bro. See you on Black Ops 3. Thanks for the comment. I hope I grinded your gears a little bit with that. I assume he means first set of dart frogs. Honestly, the reason why I fell in love with them was just because I worked with them at work. And I filmed, like, if you go back on my Instagram, I think I posted it, but... I filmed I think it was a Tinctorius, if not it was a Rhodes, I don't remember which one it was, but they were eating fruit flies, and it was a slow-mo vid of their tongue just going like, smacking the fruit fly and coming back in their mouth, and like, I just thought that was so cool, and with me getting so much into plants, they go hand in hand, like, in dart frog vivariums, and yeah, these are small, so you can't keep as crazy plants, but like if I did a giant, like nice display viv, then I could have some crazy fun with some plants in there. So work is kind of where it all started. After I realized, hey, these things are actually really cool, like I should look into them. Then I found Jungle Jewel and talked to them, and then I went on Kijiji, and that's actually where I got my first 2 pairs. I went in originally only going to get the Borgia Ridge, the Venture Maculatas, but when I got there, he had a whole, like, I don't know, maybe 8 or 10 species of dart frog there, and he was selling them, and I was like, oh man, what's there? And he showed me, and of course, the retics were actually out at the time. I see that bright red with some nice blue legs, and I was just like, how much? Please tell me how much. And my mom actually drove me there. I could drive, she just wanted to come for the drive, and so we drove to the bank, got more money, and I ended up coming home with 4 dart frogs instead of 2. Drew Hagen asks, possible dart frog owners, do's, don'ts, and musts. I think I'm interpreting this right. You're looking for, like, kind of a PSA to all dart frog owners, or, like, soon-to-be owners. And do's, try and make it a viv. I recommend a automatic mister, and... go crazy and have fun. Also make sure you're ready to take care of this animal and know what you're getting into. If you like plants, if you like building things, if you like having frogs, then of course this is for you, but you have to consider everything, like breeding your own fruit flies and food sources and things. It all comes into play. Don't buy plants from a garden center that treat their plants with pesticides on a regular basis. If you do, then you have to make sure you let it grow and only add the new growth to the tank, because then it's less likely to be infested with pesticides. Don't jump into it without doing your research. Don't just show up at a pet store one day and buy a bunch and hope that things will go well. And don't think that you're not going to get addicted. This is like reptiles, of course, are really addicting, but they're more work than these guys. Like, reptiles, especially like chameleons and tortoises and everything, like you're feeding on a regular basis every day. You have to mist them, you have to make sure their hot spots right, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do all this. With a dart frog, especially if you have an automatic mister, you set it up, you feed it every other day, and it's just beautiful. If that's not a recipe for addiction, I don't know what is. And musts, I mean, those are in the do's. Like, I consider do's musts. Andrew Garcia says, I'm trying to make a living vivarium for my crested gecko. I plan to tilt a 10-gallon on its side. Any ideas how I can make a door that keeps in dirt and hydroballs inside while still having a functional door? I think a 10-gallon is too small for a crested gecko. I would do at least a 20-gallon. B, you can either go to frogcube.com. I know he's a guy that I follow on YouTube, and he makes like his own custom things. Or you can also go to Josh's Frogs, and I believe they do sell like vertical conversion kits for 10, 20 gallons, and I don't know what else, but I believe they do sell vertical conversion kits, so that's pretty much the easiest way to do it. Griffin L asks, what is your favorite frog species, and also would you ever make an arid live planted vivarium? They're cool, they are not done as often as tropical vivs. Favorite frog species that I own, I don't know, I've already answered that a couple times. As for arid live terrariums, probably not. I'm just not really into them. Like, of course you can make them, they're just different, and I like tropical plants, not really arid plants quite as much, so that's why I probably won't make one. Vague Tsunami asks, where did you get your plants and accessories, vines, cork, etc. for your frogs tanks and chameleon tanks? Also, in the process of bringing a veiled or panther chameleon home, what kind of heating or lighting bulb do you recommend for the day and night? So for plants and accessories, I have several Facebook groups that I'm a part of that sell plants and things that I get from there. You can also get them at garden centers and pet stores. That's mostly where I get like my accessories. As for the bringing a panther chameleon home, buy a bulb and see if it works. At nighttime, typically you don't need one, so make sure whatever bulb you bring home provides the right temperatures. That's why I always suggest having your setup made before you have to bring the animal home, because then you can make sure all the temperatures are right, and if you have to exchange the bulb for a higher or lower wattage, then you can do so. Rabbit Gunner says, how difficult is it to make and care for dart frogs? Why are they so expensive in the US or everywhere? Honestly, they're not that expensive in the US. Obviously, some of them are, but they're actually quite cheap. Like, most of the ones you find for $60 or $80 there are like $110, $120 here. So once you do the research and kind of get the hang of it, they're pretty easy to care for. They just need high humidity and live food. That's pretty much their two like main challenges. So Lakes Reptiles asks, like 4 questions. 1, will you ever get any larger dart frogs like dendrobates, etc.? I'm sure you watched last episode because you watch pretty much every video, and I thank you for that, so you can answer that question. Number 2 is why or why not? You can also answer that question. What is the favorite plant that you have? Probably either my biophytums, the Biophytum zenkeri, or Biophytum sensitivum, or the vanilla plants. Those are probably by far my favorite. Then a close third would be Bromeliads. What is one plant and one animal that you really want to get in the future? Plants, I like, as much as I don't really have time for it, but as much as I want it, I would love to have like a greenhouse full of orchids and tropical plants. As for an animal, I kind of answered that in the past, but I would have any one of a female super translucent veiled, a female Jackson's, or frilled dragon, and Australian water dragon. Those would be like the 4 that I'd go for. And his last question is, will you ever make a live planted leopard gecko tank? That would look cool with some nice succulents. Probably not, but who knows. Marcos Trejo asks, do you plan on getting any more dart frogs and a female veiled for Kai? How many years have you been on YouTube? I literally just answered those. And then, how many years have I been on YouTube? I believe it's 6 this coming August. MoHerps asks, how many pinhead crickets do you feed a dendrobates frog each feeding? How many fruit flies do you feed a frog each feeding? Pinhead crickets, I don't feed mine because I don't think they're worth it. I'd much rather feed fruit flies or bean beetles. So I couldn't tell. But for the fruit flies, honestly, for the larger dart frog species, you want it to be probably 20 to 30 per frog in the tank. So that's that. There you go. There's your answer. Bando Kim asks, if you could ever make a walk-in vivarium with no limits, what would you put in there? With no limits, I'd have like trees growing. It would be in a huge like greenhouse. I'd probably have a whole bunch of different dart frogs, some geckos, maybe even some like larger lizards, like water dragons would be a perfect example. I don't know. I could go really deep in it, but I know this video is getting long, so that's kind of where I'll stop. JFCM Exotics says, where do you see yourself with reptiles in 10 years' time? Business, larger collection, etc. I assume a larger collection, likely not a business, but who knows? I don't know. Like, it's so hard to predict. Literally anything could happen in 10 years. I could be Brian Barczyk and start a breeding company and be all successful and crazy, or I could lose it all and have nothing. You just never know. Frog Rides says, I have a couple bromeliads and they have been sent to me with roots and all. Shall I put them in a pot with soil mix or just mist them in a cup? Thanks, Ollie. It doesn't really matter. If you're planting them, I would use like an orchid media, like bark, because bromeliads are epiphytes and they don't grow in soil, they grow in bark. So that's what I do if I were you. And the final question of the Dart Frog Q&A, or Vivarium Q&A, goes to Ruben Garcia Rubio. So my question is, are you getting a bigger Dart Frog tank? And will you have videos on how to do it? That would be very awesome and keep up the good work. Yes, the biopod, actually the announcement is coming this Friday. I will be getting that whenever it comes, and it will be that big. I don't know. It's big. It's a good size, so hopefully I'll have that, and I'll show you setup. I'll do unboxing. I'll do several videos on it, so you guys will see how I set it up. Don't you worry. As for any other bigger tanks, honestly, if I'm approached by somebody here in Calgary that wants me to build a tank for them, just recognize that A, it's not cheap, but I am willing to do it for you. Like, I would be more than happy to build a sweet Dart Frog Vivarium or Gecko Vivarium for you. So, yeah, if I get approached with bigger tanks, I'll do bigger tanks. Simple. Alright guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this Q&A. It was a little bit shorter than the last one, but still a very long video, so I hope you guys enjoy. I know I had a lot of fun filming it. If you liked the video, drop a like down below. If you have any other questions, comments, concerns, anything like that, leave them in the comments down below, and subscribe to my channel for more of May Madness. Again, folks, we're coming down to the end. Gotta show that love. If any of you are kind of sad that you maybe didn't see your question in this video, I still have one more question and answer video to film. It's the miscellaneous, so just kind of like random life questions that I got, and that should be up probably sometime this weekend. I don't know exactly when. So I hope you guys have a good one, and Graphic Phoenix, out of here.